Manx Radio's Update with Beth Espy.
Fastamai, good evening. How are you? Lovely to have your company this Monday evening. Welcome to Update, your half-hour roundup of what's been happening news-wise today. Coming up, why the people of Peel may have to wait that bit longer for cleaner seawater. We'll also hear about the number of posts in Manx Care since it was established 3 years ago. MGB merchandise will be produced by an island company. And could we see some of the world's best race walkers over here next month? All that, and we'll give you the latest travel news as well. Not looking brilliant out there, so a little bit murky over the tops. As ever, we'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to let us know about something, you can text 166 177 or email studio@manxradio.com. First, let's join Christian for the latest news headlines.
Isle of Man Meats has revealed it's had to dispose £40,000 worth of stock after an older piece of freezer equipment failed. By law, produce must be held at minus 12 degrees or below, but the temperature rose to minus 5. The owners of a field next to the site of the proposed sewage treatment works for the west of the island have appealed against the plans. Manx Utilities says it's disappointed by the appeal, but is undeterred and remains committed to the project, which was given the green light last month. And plans for new mobile classrooms at QE2 High School in Peel have been approved after the Education Department made the request ahead of the new academic year due to an increase in pupil numbers. But the proposals came under fire by the Planning Committee, one member describing the timing as disgusting, claiming it was putting the committee in an unfair position. In international news now, and the UK Prime Minister's called for rioters to be named and shamed as he announced plans to set up a so-called standing army of specialist police officers. Sir Keir Starmer was speaking after chairing a meeting of the UK government's Cobra Emergency Committee. More than 300 people have so far been arrested. A number of countries have issued travel alerts and safety warnings for their citizens in the UK following days of violent disorder. Nigeria, Malaysia and Indonesia have urged people to stay away from demonstrations. And Team GB have claimed 2 medals in a matter of minutes in the kite cross at the Olympics. Joe Clark took silver in the men's race after Kimberly Woods won women's bronze. Those are your headlines, next at 6.
Thanks very much, Christian. Now the weather brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. It's not great this evening. Remaining overcast. There's also that widespread hill fog and outbreaks of rain and drizzle as well. Some of that rain might be a little bit heavy at times, and there's going to be a strong southerly wind as well. The rain will clear later tonight as the wind veers westerly, and it will ease, so there'll be some clear intervals developing overnight with minimum temperatures of around 12 Celsius. Tomorrow, dry with sunny spells in the morning, but then cloud will build as the day goes on, with the risk of the odd shower later in the day. Moderate southwest winds which will strengthen later. Top temperatures tomorrow of around 19, and a similar picture really on Wednesday, sunny intervals and the risk of isolated showers. Sunset this evening, 8 minutes past 9. Sunrise tomorrow morning, 5:41.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
Many people are struggling. You could help them with a donation to Isle of Man Food Bank, whether food or other essential items or financial support. Please call 646 999. Brought to you by Descon Office Interiors.
Relax at Wicked Soy Candles overlooking Douglas Bay. Our candle and wax melt courses includes refreshments from £40 per person, and you can bring your own drinkies. Wicked Soy Candles, Tower House Douglas, where relaxation and creativity come together.
For a wide range of wood-burning stoves and a complete installation service, visit The Snug in Ramsey. And we don't stop there. Kiln-dried firewood and full aftercare service, including chimney sweeps and maintenance. Call The Snug in Ramsey.
A great night's sleep got even better with Zed's Bedding Store. From quality Beldorm bed linen and mattress protectors, fleece and woven throws to luxury duvets from the fine bedding company. Zed's Bedding Ramsey, next to Isle of Man Bank.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
Now, residents in the west of the island may have to wait a little bit longer for cleaner seawater after an appeal was launched over the plans for new sewage treatment works. It comes after Manx Utilities' proposals were approved last month. Sian Cowper has been looking at the appeal application and joins me now. Just remind us first, Sian, what are Manx Utilities' plans?
Well, these plans have been in the pipeline for quite some time now. The planning application itself was submitted in November and approved by the Planning Committee just last month. Manx Utilities have been seeking to build a sewage treatment works on land close to the Heritage Trail, next to Peel Power Station as well. This comes after years of plans of looking for the right site for this facility to sit on. And after that approval, it had been hoped that work would get underway in the autumn, with screening facilities in place by the end of next year and the full site up and running by the end of 2026.
So where has this appeal come from?
So the appellants behind this appeal are the joint owners of a field next to the site. They do state in their appeal that they have planning permission to build 21 houses on that plot. And they say they made multiple submissions in response to the application, but essentially they feel that those representations have not been taken into account as part of the planning process.
Do we know why they've appealed?
So as well as saying that their submissions weren't taken into account, they say that DEFRA should have given more consideration to other sites. To quote the appeal itself, they say the Planning Committee, in their desire to approve a solution, did so with the only option put forward by Manx Utilities, and that DEFRA failed to consider properly or at all reasonable or acceptable alternative sites for the sewage treatment works. They had as well concerns over when the environmental impact assessment was made available and also the actual planning procedures themselves. They claim that the incorrect planning procedure and information was supplied to the Planning Committee when this decision was made. And with regards to the planning application that they have themselves, they say there is a prejudicial effect on their proposals because of this treatment works.
And what happens now?
Well, the appeal has been accepted. That means the Cabinet Office will refer this to a planning inspector. That inspector will put together a report, and that report then goes to the DEFRA Minister, who will have the final say on this appeal. And I should say as well, we have had a statement from Manx Utilities. It says Manx Utilities are disappointed that an appeal has been lodged against the planning decision for the proposed wastewater treatment works for Peel. A significant amount of work has been undertaken over the last 10 years to identify the solution for the Peel catchment. This includes assessing over 30 sites, carrying out local engagement to meet the needs of the community, and completing a comprehensive environmental impact assessment and subsequent planning application. Manx Utilities is undeterred and remains committed to deliver this critical national infrastructure and to conclude the works as soon as is reasonably practicable to cease the continuous discharge of raw sewage into Peel Bay.
Sian Cowper, thank you. You're listening to Update on Manx Radio. It's just coming up to 8 minutes past 5. The Health Minister says the number of full-time equivalent posts in Manx Care has increased by 9% in the 3 years since it was established. Well, Siobhan Fletcher joins me in the studio now, and she's been taking a look at this. Siobhan, do we have a more detailed breakdown of that figure?
Yeah, Beth. So this revelation has come as part of a written answer from Ramsey MHK and Health Minister Laurie Hooper. It's in response to questions posed by Douglas North MHK David Ashford. Mr Ashford had asked what job roles by title made up the increases in full-time equivalent staffing in his department and in Manx Care, and in each case whether the increase resulted from the filling of a vacancy or the creation of a new role. In his answer, Mr Hooper revealed that when Manx Care was established in April 2021, there was a total of 3,017.4 full-time equivalents included in the budget, but by the 1st of April this year, that number had risen by 285.5. Of that number, only 160 were new posts, supported by business cases and requiring additional funding. The rest were transferred between departments, moved internally, or moved from a contract basis to an internal provision.
So then what reason did Mr Hooper give for the new roles?
So these posts largely fall into one of three categories. 77.2 are to help invest in safe staffing levels to meet demand or compliance requirements. 68.8 are to create additional services or core functions. And finally, 14 are for investing in support functions. Mr Hooper says it's important to note that these are budgeted posts, so not all will be filled with substantive staff members at this time. Some will be vacant and others will be covered by agency or locum staff.
And what about those other full-time equivalent roles that aren't new then?
Well, Mr Hooper says that the 19.7 interdepartment transfers relate to the movement of posts and the associated budget from other government departments. The 32.4 contract to internal provision roles were previously externally contracted services. They've been brought in-house, including at Ballasalla GP practice, Hillside Dental practice and the Med service. And the 72.3 full-time equivalent internal movements are as a result of internal restructures like grade changes. He adds that the impact of all those changes have been largely cost neutral.
Siobhan, thank you very much. 5:10. As we heard in the headlines with Christian, Isle of Man Meats has revealed it's had to dispose of some of its freezer stock. None of it was salvageable, as Amy Griffiths reports.
Over the weekend of the 22nd of July, an older piece of equipment failed. Frozen offal and held stock from the freezer of Isle of Man Meats were affected. By law, stock must be held at -12 degrees or below, but the temperature rose to -5 degrees. Therefore, all of the stock had to be disposed of. Similar laws exist for pet food, so it couldn't be used for that instead either. The stock value was around £40,000 of potential sales. It's not the first time this year meat stocks have had to be disposed of. Back in April, almost 2 tonnes had to be binned when errors with stock management saw some produce going past its shelf life. Meanwhile, in January, beef products had to be recalled after a packaging machine broke down. In a statement, Isle of Man Meat says it focuses on selling out fresh stock and uses the freezer as necessary to prevent wastage from unsold stock that is close to end of shelf life, as well as to build up stocks of red offal to sell to the pet food industries. It says while waste occurs at each point in the chain across the food industry, it is something that we strive to prevent. However, legislation is in place to protect human health and must take priority.
Amy Griffiths reporting. Well, let's turn our attention to business, brought to you by Ramsey Crookall. And Manx Grand Prix merchandise is going to be produced this year by an Isle of Man-based company. Rob Pritchard has the details.
Happy Dog Image Solutions, based in Derby, has announced it's partnered with the TT Motorsport team and Manx Motorcycle Club to provide MGP goods for the 2024 event. The range is being produced in-house on the island and will include custom printed giftware such as T-shirts, hoodies, jackets, hats, stickers and fridge magnets. The organisation had been involved in providing merchandise in 2023, but via a third party. In a statement, the company is thanking government departments for the opportunity to show what it can do as a business, as well as its retail partners which are supporting its efforts. It adds they hope locals and visitors who support the Manx Grand Prix are as excited as they are over the range, and that people can support the retailers who will be stocking the latest items. The new products are being stocked at Island stores in Douglas, Ramsey, Peel and Derby, as well as on board the Manxman and Manannan steam packet vessels and at the Victory Cafe at the Bungalow on the Mountain Road. You can see a full list of the island outlets providing the new MGP merchandise at manxradio.com.
Thanks very much, Rob. Now, the stock market report brought to us by Ramsey Crookall. They told us that US stocks are likely to see substantial weaknesses in early trading, extending the sell-off seen over the 2 previous sessions. Now, the major index futures are currently pointing to a sharply lower open for the markets, with the S&P 500 futures plunging by 4.5%. An overseas sell-off which saw Japan's Nikkei 225 index record its biggest slump since Black Monday in October 1987. That's likely to carry over to Wall Street. Concerns about the US economy slipping into recession following last Friday's disappointing jobs report triggered the significant weakness in the overseas markets. Gold prices traded lower today as a result of profit-taking activities, and oil prices fell nearly 2% as fears of that US recession offset supply worries stemming from mounting tensions in the Middle East. A Reuters survey showed on Friday that OPEC oil output rose in July despite production cuts by the group. Geopolitical tensions and the risk of a wider Middle East conflict helped limit losses for oil, with a report suggesting the Benjamin Netanyahu-led government could sanction a preemptive strike on Iran to prevent an attack on Israeli soil. Brent currently stands off 1.15% at $76.49. Gold is off 1.53% at $2,404. Looking at the markets and the latest from the FTSE 100 just before the close, it was off 2.15% at 7,998. A short time ago, the Dow Jones was trading off 2.42% at 38,776. And the latest from the Nasdaq, it was off 2.66% at 16,326.
I'm running late again. Do you know where I put my car keys?
In the fridge.
Where's my phone?
Under the dog basket.
Bye.
You haven't forgotten that we're seeing Ramsey Crookall later?
No, of course not. 5 p.m, is it?
3:45.
I'll be there.
Life is busy. That's why Ramsey Crookall's team takes time to help you make a mindful investment decision, considering all the options, giving you full control of your financial future. Less stress, more assurance.
Forgot to put my shoes on.
See how we can make your money work for you. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
So the main thing today, that planned Mountain Road closure is not going ahead. That's because of the weather. So the weather's too bad for it to go ahead tonight. So the mountain will be open as usual. Nothing else to report on the roads as far as we are aware. But if you see anything, then do let us know. All okay down the airport, just a couple of very little delays, but nothing major. And the main thing with the steam packet is that because of that earlier medical situation, the Manannan sailing from Liverpool had to be rescheduled with an estimated time of departure of 5:45. So passengers are all checked in now, but that is a later departure. It's supposed to leave at 3, not leaving until 5. If you want the full rundown of what's happening roadworks-wise, you can go to the Traffic and Travel Hub at manxradio.com.
Ask how you can spread the cost interest-free at Quayside.
It is coming up to 16.5 minutes past 5. The Isle of Man Prison says it's constantly working on providing prisoners with the opportunity to undertake training and qualifications while they're detained. A report by His Majesty's Inspectorate of Prisons following a re-inspection of the Derby facility said reasonable progress had been made, but there was still not enough vocational training. Tim Russell is a senior officer with the Prison and Probation Service, and John Dunn is a prison trades lecturer.
Something that we're constantly working on here at the Isle of Man Prison is purposeful activity and training and qualifications for our prisoners. It's a slow process, but it's something that we've been working on really hard over the last year. We're trying to build on some of the positives that we've already got, so we're putting more people out into our horticulture area to work in the prison gardens. They're making produce that is then used within our own kitchens to feed our own population here. And also we're sending some of that stuff out to the food bank and some of the local shows and winning lots of prizes. Beyond that, in the more academic subjects over the last year, we've really focused with our partners at the Isle of Man College on improving our assessments of prisoners first coming into prison with their literacy and numeracy skills, and we continue in the education department to deliver a wide range of lessons up there. We've also brought in, since the last inspection, AQA awards, which prisoners are able to do here and get certifications in a wide range of subjects. Something that we are in the middle of setting up. You can see here we're in the workshop area.
In the area we've got is I'm trying to accommodate bricklaying and plastering. On the right-hand side here is block work, where they'll be learning how to use sand cement, where I'll be showing them how to render and float. Classroom set up for plumbing and joinery. The timber framework is where I'll be showing them how to plate and skim. And then with the lads who are more advanced, who already have a background in plastering, if they want to progress and do advanced fibrous plaster work, I'll be teaching them that.
That's John Dunn, a prison trades lecturer, and before that, Tim Russell, a senior officer with the Prison and Probation Service. 18.5 minutes past 5. Now, a Manx woman who was diagnosed with 2 types of breast cancer this time last year has completed a fundraising challenge to walk 1,000 miles. In February, Helen Newbury set herself the target to get back to pre-cancer fitness levels. So far, she's raised £13,000 for the Manx Breast Cancer Support Group. Lewis Foster was there at the top of Sloof Cairn for the moment that Helen rang the bell to signal the end of her mammoth challenge.
In the summer of 23, I noticed an unusual bump, but initially put it down to sort of inflammation from my sports bra, having just completed a 100-mile trek across the South Downs Way. With no improvement after a month, then my partner was sort of, let's go to the doctor. And more or less then it was a month of hell of scans, biopsies, tests, waiting, which eventually led to a diagnosis of not just one breast cancer, but 2 breast cancers, one in each.
What was that moment like?
I think I was just numb to it, and it all felt surreal, really.
6 months ago now, you set yourself this target. Was the goal to return to peak fitness?
Yes, that's exactly it. I'd had the surgery. I was slowly trying to get out each day walking, and I thought, actually, let's just set a goal here. Ultimately, with the parish walk in mind, thinking I'd like to do a bit of it, which started with, let's go to Russian, then Peel, and then thought, actually, as my fitness improved, let's just get to Bluff.
And it's given you some ideas about the future and about how you manage your own treatment and how others might benefit from what you've learned.
Yeah, so I guess, it is all about keeping healthy, and I was lucky to meet some amazing women along the way with a diagnosis, each with a different story to tell, and we've helped each other get through the good days, the bad days. We've walked and talked in the sun, in the rain, and some people aren't so lucky enough to find that kind of support. So I really would like to set up a safe space to walk and talk, so sort of a breast cancer support walk and talk group. I'm currently channeling my energies into the Relay for Life. And once that's done, I'm going to channel my energies into focusing on setting up this group, and probably called something like Breast Foot Forward.
What would you say to somebody who finds himself in the same position that you found yourself in this time last year?
Don't Google. Dr. Google is a bad move. You're never going to hear success stories on the internet. You're never going to hear those stories where people have had a success and have moved forward. Seek help. So the Breast Cancer Support Group have a very active Facebook page, and you will meet people in the breast clinic and you do befriend them. But you're not alone, I think, is the message. Check your boobs.
Some great advice there from Helen Newbury. What a fantastic challenge to set herself. And she's just so proud that she's made it to the end of that 1,000-mile challenge. If you want to hear much more with the interview with Lewis, you can go to Manx Radio's website and find the newscast with Helen there. 21 and a half minutes past 5. Could the Isle of Man welcome some of the world's best race walkers to Manx Shores next month? Well, there's been a major change to the Isle of Man 20-kilometre race walking championships in September, as local athletics correspondent Dave Griffiths explains.
This event takes place on Sunday the 8th of September. Now this year, the event has been granted World Athletics ranking status, and the idea is that hopefully there'll be some really top-class athletes coming over to the Isle of Man to compete in this, perhaps from Great Britain, but hopefully from further afield, from Europe and possibly the rest of the world. The main event is the senior race over 20 kilometres, but on that day there will also be supporting events. There's a 10k race for under 23s, and also that'll also be an open race as well. There's a 5k race for under 17s, 3k for under 15s, 2k for under 13s, and 1k for under 11s. So there's something for everybody. Over the years, we've had many top-class race walkers, some of the best in the world, competing on the Isle of Man. Hasn't really happened for a number of years, but it would be great to have that back. And, I think it would be inspirational to everybody, not just the race walkers, if we did see a few sort of Olympic standard walkers competing on the Isle of Man. So very exciting.
The idea that there would be supporting events as well, several of the races across different age groups as well. How much do you think that could boost the profile again of race walking on the Isle of Man?
Oh, yeah, very much so. I mean, I don't think anybody could really sort of take issue with me saying that the race walking scene has been a little bit, it's been a little bit disappointing in recent years in terms of the fact that the numbers have dwindled. We're still getting good numbers in events like the Parish Walk, but in just the standard Winter League events and, the regular race walking events throughout the year, the numbers have dropped really significantly. I don't really know why, but something like this, hopefully will kickstart the process again. And the good thing is that we have got some really good young race walkers coming up, so it's not all bad news. There is plenty of potential for the future, and hopefully if this event is a success, then that will really kickstart the process of reviving the race walking scene on the island.
That is Dave Griffiths there talking about what potentially could be some great news in September. Rob Pritchard, our sports editor, is here. Have you ever tried race walking?
I haven't, no.
I did. I was very bad. That's all you need to know.
It's all about technique.
Well, I didn't have
From what I'm told, anyway.
Oh, right, okay. Well, Sports news, though, a lot happening.
Indeed, plenty. Well, we'll start with motorsport and a very familiar name, Ian Hutchinson. Well, he'll make his return to the Manx Grand Prix later this month. It comes 21 years after he made his debut at the event, which was his one and only appearance at the meeting to date. The 16-time TT winner will ride a Steadplan ZX 750 Kawasaki in the 4-lap Classic Superbike race on the 26th of August. When the now 44-year-old took to the mountain course in 2003, he became the fastest ever newcomer around the course at 116.66 miles an hour, taking a narrow victory in the senior newcomers MGP event. Well, since then, the Otley rider has established himself as one of the mountain course greats. He also has 27 podiums alongside those 16 TT victories. Staying with matters on two wheels, a Manx pro cyclist, Becky Storey, will compete at this year's Tour de France Femme. The 25-year-old has been named in the Team DSM Firmenich Post-NL squad to face the Women's World Tour event, now in its third year, which will run from next Monday until next Sunday, so that's the 12th to the 18th of August. The seven-strong team will also include British National Road Race champion Pfeiffer Georgie, who this week has been representing Great Britain at the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris. Well, Storey's last competitive outing was during last month's Giro d'Italia Women, where she was forced to withdraw on stage 4 after suffering a broken collarbone injury for the second time so far this season. Well, elsewhere, it remains to be seen if fellow Ireland Pro rider Lizzie Holden will be involved in this month's tour for UAE Team ADQ. The team is yet to reveal its lineup for the event. And finally, in football, FC Isle of Man's away tie against Litherland Remacher in the NWCFL Premier Division will now take place this month. The Ravens will make the journey to Litherland Sports Park on Saturday, the 17th of August, with kick-off that day scheduled for 3 p.m. When the initial full fixture lists were announced last month, this match had previously been arranged to be held on Boxing Day, the 26th of December. Well, the extra game this month means FC Isle of Man face 7 matches in August alone, with 6 of those being on their travels. But next up for Paul Jones' side is their only home match of the month against Longridge Town, and that takes place at the Bowl this Saturday, kicking off at 6 p.m.
Thanks very much, Rob. Just thinking about Ian Hutchinson back at the MGP. It's less than a fortnight, isn't it, until it all kicks off?
It's all come around rather quickly, hasn't it?
It really has. We were talking a little bit about the newscasts that people can find at manxradio.com. That's the longer news interviews with people. But you've also got a sports cast as well. Just to give us some details about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So much like the newscasts that go in depth on a lot of the news stories that Manx Radio covers, likewise the Manx Radio Sportscast in turn provides more in-depth coverage on certain topics and stories that we have on the latest sporting news going on around the Isle of Man and beyond as well. And you can find those over at manxradio.com in the podcast section, the Manx Radio Sportscast.
Thank you very much indeed, Rob. Now go and practice your race walking. That is all from Update this evening. As ever, this programme will also be available to download as a podcast should you wish to listen again at your leisure. Coming up next, it's Agenda with Phil Gaughan, then Greatest Hits, which is with Chris Quirk today, then Time for Brass with Ian Cottier before Dave Moore joins you for After Hours. And if you have not checked out Manx Radio Gold, the smart speakers station yet, do give it a listen. It's absolutely brilliant. A perfect accompaniment to your Monday evening. Thank you very much indeed for your company. Ben will be with you with breakfast from 6 a.m. tomorrow, and I'll be back here at 5 tomorrow. So whatever you're doing, have a great one.